Most people today are already using AI tools in some form, whether it is generating content, writing messages, or exploring different features, but very few are actually making money from them. And if you really think about it, that gap is not because the tools are not powerful enough, but because people are not using them in a way that connects to real value. You might have already tried multiple tools, experimented with prompts, created outputs, and even felt productive while using them. But at the end of the day, nothing really changed in terms of actual income or opportunities. And that is where the real problem lies. Because knowing how a tool works is very different from knowing how to use it in a way that creates outcomes that people are willing to pay for. In the last video, we talked about systems that improve how you work, but in this video, we are going one step further and breaking down specific tools, not just what they do, but how they are actually being used in real situations to generate income, and more importantly, how you can apply them in a practical and repeatable way. Because once you start seeing how these tools connect to real use cases and real results, it becomes much easier to understand where the actual opportunity is and how you can start using it in your own workflow. Before we go into each tool, there is one important shift you need to understand, because most people approach AI tools in a completely different way compared to those who are actually making money from them. And this difference is not obvious in the beginning, but it becomes very clear over time. Most people focus on features. They explore what the tool can do, what outputs it can generate, or what new update has been added. And they spend a lot of time trying different prompts or experimenting with possibilities. But they rarely stop and think about how any of that connects to solving a real problem that someone actually cares about. And that is why you often see people using AI regularly, staying busy, generating content, but still not seeing any meaningful results in terms of income or opportunities. On the other hand, the people who are actually making money are not focused on the tool itself. They are focused on the outcome first, and then they use the tool as a way to deliver that outcome faster, better, and more consistently. And once you understand this shift, something important changes, because instead of asking what the tool can do, you start asking where this tool can be applied in a way that creates value. And that is where real opportunities begin. Most people still type everything, whether it is messages, content, emails, or even prompts. And while this may feel normal, it actually slows down how quickly they can think and execute ideas, especially when they are trying to make everything sound perfect before even starting. This creates a constant friction in the process, where instead of focusing on ideas, they are focusing on how to structure those ideas correctly, and that delay builds up over time. You might have experienced this yourself, where you have an idea in your mind, but by the time you try to type it out properly, the clarity starts to fade or the flow breaks. And this is where tools like voice-based AI systems start to make a noticeable difference, because instead of typing, you can simply speak naturally, correct yourself as you go, and let the system convert everything into structured text instantly. For example, you can draft emails, write scripts, create captions, or even generate prompts just by speaking in a natural way, without worrying about grammar or structure in the first attempt. And when that friction is removed, something important happens, because you start capturing more ideas, thinking faster, and moving from idea to execution much more efficiently than before, which directly improves both speed and consistency in your workflow over time. Where this becomes powerful is in content creation and service-based work, because speed directly affects how much output you can produce in a given amount of time. And most people underestimate how important that is in real situations. If you can write faster, you can create more content, respond to clients quicker, or deliver projects more efficiently, which increases your overall capacity without increasing your effort in the same way. For example, instead of spending a long time structuring every message or piece of content, you can simply speak your thoughts, refine them slightly, and move forward much faster. And when this happens consistently, something important changes. because your workflow becomes smoother and more natural rather than slow and effort-heavy. The advantage here is that modern voice AI tools now understand context much better than before, so you do not need to be perfect while speaking, and the system still understands what you mean. However, one limitation is that you still need to refine the final output, because raw input is not always ready for professional use. But recently, these systems have improved a lot in handling tone, corrections, and intent, which makes them far more practical for everyday work and real-world use. A lot of daily work today involves switching between multiple tabs, searching for information, comparing options, and repeating small actions across different websites. And while each of these tasks may seem simple on their own, together they take up a significant amount of time and mental energy throughout the day without most people even realizing it. You might open several tabs to compare products, check reviews, look at alternatives, and then go back and forth trying to make a decision, and this entire process becomes repetitive over time. And this is exactly where tools like AI-powered browsers start to change the way work gets done, because instead of manually performing every step, you can simply describe what you want, and the system handles those actions across different platforms in a much more structured and efficient way. For example, instead of opening multiple tabs and comparing everything manually, you can ask the system to compare options, filter results, and present the best choices for you in one place. And when you remove that repetitive effort, something important happens, because your focus shifts from doing tasks to making decisions, which is where real efficiency begins. And when this becomes part of your daily workflow, you start noticing that decisions take less time, actions become more streamlined, and overall work feels much more efficient without requiring additional effort. This becomes valuable in freelancing and business workflows, because many small tasks that usually take time can now be automated or handled more efficiently, which directly improves how quickly you can deliver results and how much work you can manage at the same time. For example, tasks like research, data collection, comparison, or repetitive actions that normally take a lot of manual effort can now be completed much faster, which allows you to focus more on higher value work instead of spending time on small steps. And over time, this creates a clear advantage, because faster delivery and consistent output often lead to better opportunities, stronger client relationships, and increased income potential. The advantage of these tools is that they are becoming better at handling multi-step actions and understanding what you want across different tasks. But one limitation is that they still depend on how clearly you communicate your instructions. Recently, improvements in automation flow, task execution, and accuracy have made these tools much more reliable, which makes them practical for real-world use where speed and consistency actually matter. And when this continues over time, the difference becomes very clear, because small improvements in speed and consistency start turning into bigger advantages in output and overall results. Staying updated today usually requires constant searching, opening multiple tabs, checking different sources, and trying to filter useful information from a large amount of content. And while this may seem manageable at first, over time it becomes both time-consuming and inconsistent, because you are always starting from zero every time you need information. You might search for the same topic multiple times, check different websites, scroll through articles, and still feel like you are not getting exactly what you need in a structured way, and this process repeats again and again. And this is where research AI tools start to completely change how information is consumed, because instead of searching manually every time, you can define what topics you are interested in, and the system continuously tracks and delivers relevant updates to you automatically. For example, if you are following a specific industry, trend, or topic, you do not need to search for it daily, because the system keeps monitoring it and sends you structured updates. And when this becomes part of your workflow, something important happens, because instead of spending time finding information again and again, you start spending more time using that information in a meaningful way, which improves both efficiency and consistency in your work over time. This becomes especially valuable in areas like content creation, research-based work, and decision-making, because having updated and relevant information gives you a clear advantage over those who rely on manual searching and outdated insights. And this difference becomes more visible over time. If you are consistently informed, you are not reacting late to trends, you are not guessing what might work, and you are not spending extra time trying to verify information again and again because you already have structured updates coming to you. This allows you to create better content, respond faster to changes, and make decisions with more clarity, which directly improves the quality of your output and how efficiently you work on a daily basis. The advantage of these tools is that they filter information based on relevance, which reduces noise and helps you focus only on what actually matters. But one limitation is that you still need to interpret and apply the information correctly, because tools can deliver insights, but they cannot replace your thinking or judgment. And recently, these systems have improved significantly in filtering accuracy, personalization, and consistency, which makes them much more practical for real-world use, especially for people who depend on staying updated regularly and using that information effectively. Building websites or digital products traditionally required technical skills, time, and a lot of effort, which made it difficult for many people to get started, especially if they did not have a development background or prior experience. You needed to understand structure, layout, design, and functionality, and even small changes could take time to implement, which slowed down the entire process and often made execution feel complicated. You might have an idea in your mind, but turning that idea into something real required multiple steps, tools, and technical knowledge. And that gap often stopped people from even starting. And this is where AI website builders begin to change the process completely, because instead of building everything manually, you can simply describe what you want to create, and the system generates the structure, layout, and design for you in a much more structured and efficient way. For example, you can create a landing page, a portfolio, or even a simple application just by explaining your idea, and the system handles most of the initial setup without requiring deep technical knowledge. And when this becomes part of your workflow, something important happens, because the barrier to execution becomes much lower, and turning ideas into real outputs becomes faster, more consistent, and much easier to repeat over time. This becomes extremely valuable in freelancing, digital services, and product-based work, because the ability to build quickly without depending on technical skills creates a strong advantage over those who are still relying on traditional methods, and this difference becomes more visible over time. Normally, building something like a landing page or a small product takes multiple steps, coordination, and time, which slows down execution and delays results. And because of that, many ideas never even get tested. You might have an idea, but turning that idea into something usable takes effort, time, and sometimes external help, which creates friction in the process. And this is where AI website builders completely change the situation, because instead of waiting, planning, and delaying execution, you can simply describe what you want to build, and the system generates a working version for you quickly. For example, you can create landing pages for clients, build simple products, or test ideas without needing deep technical knowledge. And when this becomes part of your workflow, something important happens. Because execution becomes faster, ideas move forward quickly, and your ability to produce real outputs increases significantly over time. And when this becomes part of your workflow, you start noticing a clear difference, because instead of delaying ideas or waiting for execution, you are able to test, build, and launch much faster. And over time, that speed turns into more opportunities, better output, and stronger results. Video content has become one of the most powerful formats today, but creating videos traditionally requires time, effort, and multiple skills, which makes it difficult for many people to produce content consistently, especially if they are just starting out. You need to plan the idea, record the footage, edit the clips, adjust the visuals, and refine the final output, and even short videos can take a significant amount of time to complete properly. Because of this, many people either delay creating videos or struggle to stay consistent, which limits their ability to grow or take advantage of opportunities. And this is where AI video tools begin to change the entire process, because instead of manually creating everything step by step, you can describe what you want to create, define the style, the scene, and the structure, and the system generates the video for you in a much more efficient way. For example, you can create short videos, storytelling content, or visual assets just by explaining your idea, without needing advanced editing skills or expensive setups. And when this becomes part of your workflow, something important happens, because content creation becomes easier, faster, and much more consistent over time. And when this becomes part of your workflow, you start noticing that creating videos is no longer a heavy or time-consuming task, but something you can do consistently. And over time, that consistency turns into more content, more reach, and better opportunities. This opens strong opportunities in content creation, marketing, and digital services, because video demand is continuously increasing across platforms, and those who can produce video content efficiently have a clear advantage over those who are still relying on traditional methods. Normally, creating videos takes time, effort, and consistency, and because of that, many people struggle to keep up or delay content creation altogether, which limits their growth and opportunities. You might have ideas for content, but turning those ideas into actual videos requires multiple steps, and that process often slows things down. And this is where AI video tools start to change the situation, because instead of going through the entire manual process, you can generate videos much faster by describing what you want, guiding the style, and letting the system handle most of the work. For example, you can create short videos, marketing content, or storytelling visuals without needing advanced editing skills, which reduces the effort required significantly. And when this becomes part of your workflow, something important happens, because you are able to create more content consistently, test more ideas, and increase your overall output. And over time, that consistency turns into more visibility, more reach, and more income opportunities. A lot of work today involves repetitive tasks that need to be done again and again, whether it is managing data, sending updates, connecting tools, or handling small processes that take time but do not require deep thinking. And while each task may seem small individually, together they consume a significant amount of time and energy over the long run. Most people handle these tasks manually, which means they are constantly repeating the same actions without realizing how much time they are losing. And this is where automation tools start to change the way work is done, because instead of manually handling every step, you can create workflows that connect different tools and allow tasks to run automatically in the background. For example, you can automate data flow, notifications, or repetitive actions between apps without needing to do them yourself every time. And when this becomes part of your workflow, something important happens, because you are no longer spending time on repetitive work, and instead, you are focusing on tasks that actually require your attention. This becomes one of the strongest opportunities when it comes to making money with AI, because businesses are actively looking for ways to save time, reduce manual effort, and improve efficiency. And automation directly solves that problem in a practical way. If you can build workflows that handle repetitive tasks, you are creating value that businesses are willing to pay for, because it saves both time and cost for them. The advantage of automation tools is that once a workflow is built, it can be reused, improved, and scaled across different use cases, which makes it a powerful skill over time. One limitation is that you need to understand how different tools connect and how workflows are structured, but recently these tools have become much more user-friendly, which makes it easier to get started even without a deep technical background. And when you continue building and improving these workflows, something important happens, because your work becomes more scalable and your ability to create value increases significantly. So now you have seen not just what these tools do, but how they connect to real use cases and real income opportunities. And the key takeaway here is not to try everything at once, but to focus on one system, apply it properly, and build from there. Because tools do not create results on their own, it is how you use them that makes the difference. And once you start applying these tools with the right approach, you begin to see how small improvements in speed, consistency, and execution start turning into real outcomes over time. You are not just using tools anymore, you are building systems that create value. And that is where the real opportunity lies if you stay consistent with it. And if you found this breakdown useful, make sure to stay connected, because in the next videos, we will go deeper into how to actually apply these tools step by step in real workflows so you can start seeing results faster and more clearly.